Nerd Soul.
Yeah, that's right. Late ill kid at OneYoungsta holding it down, bringing that street geek and nerd soul. It's Ahsoka. It's Star Wars. We're gonna have a good time, but we're not by ourselves. We got some cool people. We're gonna set it off with Jay Sherer. What's up?
Nothing much. It's good to be here. Good to be talking about Star Wars again. It's nice to talk about something new with all these Hollywood strikes and stuff like that. I don't know when we're going to run out of content, but hopefully not too soon. So I'm happy to talk about Star Wars.
Yeah, and we have, of course, Solar Gray, cinematic sorcerer. Hey, what's up?
Hey everybody, what is going on today? I am coming at you from the Wizard's Tower saying, hola, how you doing?
All right, so I guess the best way to start this off is to just simply ask out to the floor, do we like this show? Do we like this show?
I like the show.
Trepidation, I guess?
No, I would say no trepidation on my part. I like this show. And I'll get into this more as we talk about this, but like Dave Filoni to me is sort of as much of George Lucas-y style Star Wars as you can get these days. And that's for the good reasons and the bad reasons. So, but in general, like, yeah, I liked it. Like, I know that some people had some problems with a few things, which I'm sure we'll talk about as well. But for me, nothing took me out of it in any major ways. And I feel like the performers did a good job. I feel like, it's very Rebels feeling. So if you enjoyed Rebels, I feel like you'll enjoy this show. And for the most part, I've liked the first two episodes so far.
Okay. All right. Solar.
So I'm torn. I am so torn. For the record, I didn't finish Rebels. Okay.
Okay.
I didn't either, Solar. So you and I are in the same boat. I have not
Okay.
finished Rebels yet either.
So the thing is, since I don't have the same type of emotional connection with Ahsoka that a lot of other people do, I'm just kind of looking at it going, all right, so what am I seeing? You get what I mean?
I get it. Yeah. I see where you're coming from. And I do want to talk about that too. So I see where you're coming from on that.
Yeah. So, but see, with that, I gotta say, the show in and of itself, I find fascinating. I find truly, truly fascinating. I'm noticing something about these shows that really hit me when I sat down to watch Ahsoka. And that is, they don't feel like what I remember Star Wars being.
Okay.
Just with the lighting and the cinematography, it's so sterile. Like Star Wars, because of its use of practical effects, has always been really grimy, really lived in, And I'm watching the show and I'm like, okay, they're in this place. Man, that's very clean. Wow, that's very clean. Wow, we've got a fantastic set piece with ruins, and yeah, it's got sand, but it's got no dust. You know what I mean?
Okay. I see where you're coming from.
Yeah, so I'm kind of looking at this, and I'm not saying it took me out of the thing. I'm just saying, yeah, Star Wars is looking real sci-fi original lately.
You know what?
Okay.
To pick up on that, I think because I think that is predominantly from my perspective, and this is from someone not on the inside because I've never filmed in the volume, but I think the volume is causing a lot of those issues. Now, obviously, Filoni has a background in animation as well, and all of those animated shows were pretty clean looking. So it could be that there's some component to that as well, that Filoni's used to taking that aesthetic. But I feel like the volume, look, it's not production design sets. I mean, yes, there are elements of production design sets that they set up inside the volume from what I've seen in the behind the scenes footage. But the volume itself is very limited in its ability to showcase specific things. So, for example,
Wait, could you clarify what the volume is?
Yeah, the volume is this piece of technology that Lucasfilm has developed that is a giant domed screen. And basically the cool part about it is that they can use it is I don't know what the right term is, but it's like parallaxed to the camera so that it will adjust the scenery based on where the camera is moving to.
Right.
And so
okay. All right.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's crazy. It's crazy how like cool it is.
yeah, it's crazy awesome, but it's also used in smart ways, and then it's also used in scenarios where it was clear that they were like, we don't really want to build a production set, so we're going to use the volume, but the volume is not best suited for it. So like there's a scene in the first episode where Sabine runs downstairs from her apartment complex and then gets in a fight with I can't remember her name, but the enemy.
Oh yeah.
And that scene,
Little
like,
Miss, Smoky Eye.
Not Little
exactly,
Miss Smoky
exactly. And when you look at the backgrounds of those scenes, you're like, okay, what's behind Sabine looks like a mid 2000s video game, and what's behind the not Sith bad person is this open field. And in both cases, it's like that's the volume. They're filming this in the volume, is what it looks like to me. And it's like you didn't really polish it. You didn't really do much with it. It just looks kind of lackluster, and that's what I think Kenobi suffered from at parts too. So yeah, I totally agree, Solar. I think that's the one complaint. It doesn't take me out of it either. So I'm just saying I notice it, but it doesn't mean that I don't like the story. It just means I notice it. I go, oh, that's weird because that doesn't look like what I would have thought Star Wars would look like. But okay,
Yeah.
So
And
I mean
that
that was
Smoky Eye is called. Her name is Shin Hati. Even though
Shin,
I do like,
that's right.
I do
Yeah.
like Little Miss Smoky Eye though.
I do too.
She's all right so far. Honestly, I like her master. I think he is awesome. Now as far as the story goes so far, I'm digging it, but honestly, and I hate to be the voice of dissent on this one, I think I want to slap the director. I really do. Because I know Rosario Dawson can act. I know that she can. I've seen her in dozens of things, okay? And for some reason, it's like she was directed. It was like her one production note was, that was good, but could you tone it down a little more? Like I'm going for kind of like a cardboard feel on this one, you know? Because I mean, the Ahsoka character has some depth, right? Like the background with Anakin, the heartbreak, the walking away from the Jedi Order, the being dogpiled on by the Jedi Order. So she's got some stuff. And I definitely noticed there was more emotion coming out of her in her brief cameo in The Mandalorian than there was in this show so far. You know?
Okay, well, I'll say for me, okay, it's Star Wars. It's brand new. It's about Ahsoka. Even though I think that we're pushing to the point where I think they're going to start making her not my favorite Jedi, but she's my favorite Jedi. It's new Star Wars. It looks cool. I'm happy. But there are so many things narratively that they're trying to make me not happy. Because overall, I think the show is cool, and I'm glad that we have it. And I generally enjoyed the first 2 episodes, but I'll get into this. I'll start with Sabine first. Okay. When we left off, and see, this is tough if you haven't finished Rebels. So and I'll go off of your point before I jump on Sabine. The point of this show, Ahsoka, is heavily tied to Clone Wars and Rebels. And if you haven't watched either of those or watched the totality of those, it's hard to like really care. not saying that you can't, jump in this show and watch a cool character, but you will feel like, hey, there's a lot of stuff I don't know. And this show it basically is like, look, hey, I hope you watch Clone Wars and I hope you watch Rebels, because if you didn't, that's on you. So with Sabine, the thing that's rough about me is that I thought we left Sabine at a much more mature point than we meet her here. And this is a knock not on the show, but Hollywood in general. Hollywood, I know you watch the show. I know you listening. So go listen in a little bit. You're still on strike, so you got some time. Listen. Whenever we leave a hero for some time and come back, they don't have to be grumpy. They don't. They don't have to be mean. I grew up around older men that coach young little league teams. They had a zest for life. I grew up around old men that would play chess in the park, had a zest for life. They were happy, generally jovial folks. Every old person is not mean. You can stop now. It's okay. Every old person is not angry about the world or disillusioned, or it's just look, we understand there are grumpy old men. It was a hilarious comedy. The sequel was even good. But you know what? There's also old people that are happy. They're generally cool, laid back. And I would have loved to see an Ahsoka and Sabine meeting up once again and being like, hey, how's it going? You know, like happy to see one another. I'm kind of tired of like the hero that's like just too stoic for it all, or they're tired of it, or they're over everything. I'm kind of tired of it. I am in general. And then with Sabine was always positioned as more mature than Ezra when he first shows up. And as the show goes on, she's a mature person. In this, she's like a baby. She's whining about stuff like, well, Ahsoka did Hera make her come? And then the whole thing of running away from the event at the beginning. For the guy to say, I turned around, she was just here. And then for her next line to be like, oh, that was today? You know it's today because you were here. And I thought we left you at a much more mature place than this. I don't mind you not wanting to be there. I don't mind throwing in the line like, man, this is too rough for me. I can't take it. It's still too soon. You know, it's a lot of emotion around it. But the whole game of like, oh, I didn't know that was today. And then like the playing chicken with it didn't seem like this is the Sabine that we left. And that kind of dragged on me. But how are you two feeling about Sabine?
Yeah. So oh, I love this. Yeah. So the place that I am with Sabine is an interesting thing. It's a real interesting thing. When I'm looking at Sabine, I'm like, okay, so she's petulant. Okay, I can live with petulant. That's I can deal.
I can live with that.
You know. But when I was looking at Sabine, and again, this was just the first 2 episodes, there was one thing that kind of made me go, And you know what that was?
What?
Isn't this show called Ahsoka? I mean, I don't know. I'm just a humble little man from Los Angeles, but I could have sworn that the title of the show happens to have a character that one would call, I say, titular. And we spent a lot of time with a character that was not the character who the show is named after. You know.
Okay, I see where you're coming from.
So yeah, when I looked at Sabine, now again, when I say I didn't finish Rebels, I had no idea that she trained to be a Jedi. I'm like, okay, a Mandalorian Jedi. That answered a question.
Yeah, she didn't train with Ahsoka in the show.
Oh, okay.
So this is more extra stuff that would have been great to see that they're just telling us about, which is another Hollywood issue that just drop that. We don't have time to. We'll punt that for later. But
Well,
yes,
Star Wars has always, well, ever since the year 2000, Star Wars has been very tell, don't show.
But yes, sorry, but go ahead.
So yeah, but I took a look at that and I'm like, okay, for some reason, I'm right there with you, with the whole, we haven't seen each other in 5 to 10 years. It's good to see you again. And I got that with my favorite character from Rebels. But it's almost like they're so desperate for character tension that literally they take the only good relationship that we can see on the show, and I mean good relationship as in, yeah, we friends, what? And they turn her into a hologram. I mean, Hera was my girl. I could have watched a whole show just about her. I mean, Rebels was all right, but I'm like, dude, Hera, this Twi'lek pilot is like amazing. And she was one of my favorite characters since the original Tridge. And I'm like, wait, is that? Oh, wow. All right, cool. We get to see this. This is like Rebels live action, but not quite. And we take away her cool relationship with Ahsoka, being the one that's like, no, you were difficult too. What? Yeah, you're calling her a pain in the butt. You were a pain in the butt as well. Pretty sure you were a pain in the butt to your master. And at that point, I literally expected Ahsoka to like at least have a flash of anger and then like push it down with her Jedi training, with the "we don't talk about him" type of thing. But I don't know. I mean, is it just me? Am I looking for something that isn't supposed to be there, or what?
Well, Jay, throwing it to you. How are you feeling about that relationship? How are you feeling about Sabine and I guess the sort of the mommying from Hera? Because it seems like Hera is wrangling 2 kids.
Yeah. Well, here's what's interesting. I've seen, I think, 2 seasons of Rebels at this point, and I've been spoiled on everything that happens, so I know what happens.
Okay.
So it wasn't surprising to me that she was a Jedi, but I will say that I don't have a love for the Rebels characters like I do for the original trilogy characters, or even characters from, even the sequel trilogy. I really like some of those characters. Even though the story isn't always cohesive. So for me, seeing Sabine and seeing Ahsoka and seeing Hera, it's not like I don't get a thrill from it. It just is, okay, these are the characters that we're telling this story around, and am I going to like the story? And will the characters grow on me from this point because I'm seeing them in a different light? Now, given all of those things, I think Sabine is fine. I think one of the things that Star Wars continues to do is it continues to kind of, this is why I like Andor so much. Andor gives you a whole cast of characters that are not the normal people you see in the Star Wars universe. Whereas pretty much every other show, they've been like, let's build a whole show around the cool characters. So here's a cool character. She trained under Anakin. She has 2 lightsabers. Here's a cool character. She used to be a Mandalorian. And guess what? She's now has Force sensitivity. Like, here's a cool character. He's a Jedi. He lost his eyesight. So I feel a little bit like Star Wars is burning through like a lot of those scenarios, so that now when they showcase them, it doesn't feel as powerful. It doesn't feel like it matters as much. Like, so when I see, like, if I see Sabine, am I thinking to myself, wow, this is a Mandalorian Jedi. What does that look like? How are they going to behave? How is she going to behave differently than some of the other Mandalorians or some of the other Jedi? What is she going to bring to the table that no one else can? It seems like instead of that, it's kind of just like, here's this character. She's kind of like all the other characters that you've ever seen, and we're not asking those questions of her. And so I'm like, okay. So now that sounds really negative. I don't mean to be like really negative, but I just if you ask me to break it down, like I'm like, I guess it's so my feeling right now is kind of like, she's all right. You know what I mean? Like maybe she'll get better, maybe she'll get worse, but for right now, she's just all right.
Yeah, and see, for me, since I've watched Sabine and seen her get the dark saber, seen her get trained by Kanan, even though she didn't have force. Oh, also another thing in the show, Kanan, the gist that I got, and please in the comments correct me if I'm wrong. In the show, the gist that I got is that she did not have any force sensitivity whatsoever. But since she had the sword, Kanan was like, "Well, let me train you in the sword because at least you'll know how to use that. Even though you don't have force sensitivity, at least you'll know how to wield the blade." You know what I'm saying? And now all of a sudden she had force sensitivity and she got trained off screen. So like, huh? So you never told us. So we get to see her reconnect with her family and see like why she left her family and was kind of sort of banished and felt so much shame. And then we come back to her and we're like, so she's a baby. She's whining over everything. She's annoying. And I mean, you need Huyang, who I love. Shouts to David Tennant. We have Huyang in the spot, who basically is like, I guess Huyang is like, look, I don't care why you're here, who called you. This is the moment. What are you going to do in this? I don't care. I don't want to hear, well, Ahsoka didn't call me. Hera called me, didn't she? I don't care. That's not important. He was like, that's in the past. Move forward.
And by the way, you suck at the Force.
It's like, yeah. I mean, even and notice, even in saying all that, he still gave her the lightsaber. He was like, so what? So you're not as you know, blessed in the Force as anyone else. So what? The ball is in your court. You gonna dribble or not? Like, you gonna sit here and cry about it? You got the blade. Ezra gave it to you. So what you gonna do with it? You gonna put it in a box and let it hide for the rest of your life? What you gonna do? People need you. You getting up or not? Like, I love Huyang. And Matt, this Huyang may be my saving grace in these first two episodes, but I'm gonna throw it to Jay. Jay, how are you feeling about Huyang and his conversations with Ahsoka and Sabine?
Well, the one thing that I think Disney Star Wars has done pretty well overall is the use of droids, because they've given droids really interesting personalities and brought in people who are playing those droids. I mean, like, you could go from K2SO. I know that a lot of people. Cool. K2 was amazing. I know a lot of people were annoyed with L337. I guess it is the Lando. Is that Lando's
L3.
L3, yeah. So L3, I think a lot of people were annoyed with, but like, she still had like an interesting, quirky character to her. Like,
nah, she was, man, they hating on L3. I love that girl.
Yeah,
I told you why.
Yeah.
When the girl asked her, she was like, so Lando's a human and you're an android. When she just said it works, I was like, oh, excuse me. After that, I was like, L3, my girl, boy. L3 a freak.
Yeah, but one thing, if you're going to complain about L3, one thing you can't complain about is that she's not a very intriguing droid. Like, she's going to lead a whole droid uprising. I mean, come on, that's at least that's interesting, you know. So the droids have been obviously BB-8 is fantastic droid. So the droids have been pretty strong, and I think bringing in David Tennant to be like, let's just face it, this is like 3PO without all the neurotic behavior, right? Like, this is 3PO, but he's got his life together. Like, and I think that it works. Those kind of droids have always worked in Star Wars. There's the cute droids, and then there's kind of the obnoxious droids that we laugh at, and this is an obnoxious droid that we laugh at. I think it works. I don't have any problems. I like Huyang.
Yeah, you know, honestly, not having a history with that particular droid, I'm like, is this a good guy? I don't know. This is, and then I think back to the one dude from Rogue One. The one that what's his name, Alan Tudyk played, and I'm like, okay, you know what, I can.
Oh yeah, K2, right?
Yeah, K2.
K2.
I think back to that dude, and I'm like, okay, you know what, this guy's got some stuff. This guy has most definitely got some stuff going. And then yeah, since this guy has got some definite stuff to him and on him, I think I can get down with this character. I think I can get down with him. Okay,
Yeah,
I can get down with him.
and also since he was one of the droids that like trained or helped in the training of younglings, I'm looking at him in his conversation with Sabine. I'm like, he's still teaching. Like he's still teaching. He's like, so what? I love that particular attitude. I love that attitude of like, I don't care if Hera called you or Ahsoka called you. Yes, it's Ezra. He was like, no, once Ezra gave this to you, it's yours.
Right.
Like, it's yours now. So I do like that. But of course, this is the show about Ahsoka. So let's talk about Ahsoka. The titular character who I have said many times is my favorite Jedi, and for some reason, Dave Filoni is trying to make not my favorite Jedi, even though she's still my. And here's why: it's not that Ahsoka isn't cool. It's not that she doesn't look cool. It's because I don't know. Maybe it's because they're trying to slow burn this. I don't know. They're not. They barely give Ahsoka anything to do in the show. We get a couple of like spark moments where Huyang asked how she got the information from Morgan, and he was like, that's not Jedi protocol. And she was like, I'm not a Jedi. Like these little that I was like, oh cool, we got a little playfulness. But besides that, it's like it's almost like her direction is be like really stoic and be mad at Sabine.
Yeah, that's the thing I was talking about. Like right there, it is be stoic, be mad at Sabine, and I'm like, I saw you play this part before. Where you at?
Yeah, it just Ahsoka looks cool. The garb is awesome. The fight scenes are great. I enjoy the fight scenes, but the way we left her off the last time we saw her, which was, I guess, timelines wise, I don't know if it was the end of Rebels or in Tales of the Jedi, but we left off on a person that didn't seem to be overly stoic. I mean, even in Mandalorian, I mean, I guess she was more stoic.
Yeah.
But I mean, she still had, like a energy around her of like excitement. Like Mando brings or Din Djarin brings Grogu to her, and he's like, hey, Bo-Katan sent me, don't attack, whatever. And she's like, I'm more interested in this guy. Like just that attitude, that I need some of that. Give me something. I would have loved to see her come in and be like, hey Sabine, how's it going? And their relationship be great and be like, look, I need you to get back in the saddle because we got this star map. And her be like, word, we got a star map? Finally. There can be external negativity that they have to fight. They can fight external forces. They don't have to fight each other. Because if they're fighting each other, how much time in the show do we have?
Right.
Like, come on, y'all. Like, it would have just been awesome to see old friends link up and be like, hey, we've been in the trenches before and we're going to have to do it again. Because you have a lady that's just being stoic. And I mean, it's cool, but Ahsoka never really came off super stoic. And I don't know. But Jay did say, you said that you had some stuff about Ahsoka that you thought they worked around that I might like. So draw some knowledge on.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that you've always said, and because I don't have as big of a background in Rebels, and I have, I've seen most of the Clone Wars, but not all of it. one of the things you've always said is, where was Ahsoka during all these major events? Like, what was she up to? And there was one scene in this show where I think it was Sabine that kind of came after her a little bit and was like, well, it's not like you didn't abandon us too, right? Like you haven't been around doing all of the things that could have come up already. Where have you been? And so I feel like that's at least giving us an inroads into asking some questions of Ahsoka. Like, maybe she is stoic because maybe she had to go into some like deep training and missed all the giant events of the galaxy and has some shame and guilt associated with it or something. I mean, that would be at least interesting to explore and say, why is she different? Because right now, the reason it seems to me like she's different is because without any other context, she was sort of a precocious kid who turned into sort of a serious but action-oriented adult. Almost like the way that Anakin would run into stuff. Like, she felt like she would also run into those same situations. Which, to your point, makes it weird that she didn't show up to some of the major events of the galaxy where she could have made a difference in. So why is the character so different? And I hope it's because there are character reasons, and it's not just because, well, we cast Rosario Dawson in this role, and we feel like Rosario Dawson is perfect in this role when she's being stoic. And then it'd be like, oh, okay, well, that's a bummer. But if there's some reasoning behind it, and then that would be so. At least I think that at least they're trying to hint at, we're going to give you some reasons why Ahsoka has not been around. But what did you take that as that, or did you see that differently?
Yes, but hopefully I'll be willing to deal with this for the stoic. For her to maybe come to a moment where she apologizes to Sabine, being like, you know what, I haven't been around. I got tied up chasing this white rabbit of Thrawn, and it changed me. Boom. That's 2 sentences, 2-3 sentences, and then I can be like, okay, I can accept stoic now. Because you got so obsessed over this, over this Thrawn thing, that you're not the person you used to be anymore. Now you're compulsive, or you're obsessive, and Thrawn is the only thing. You got these blinders on, and the people that matter to you stop mattering. I can accept that, but it's just, hey, I'm stoic because I am.
Right, exactly.
And I'm like, that's not the character that even in the end of Clone Wars, which the final season, the last 4 episodes are basically like a awesome Star Wars movie.
Yes,
but when she's fighting,
best Clone Wars of all time. Yes.
Yeah, when she's fighting against Darth Maul, and he was like, "I want an Anakin." The little jab where she's like, "If this the best you fighting, you better be glad that Anakin ain't here." because I'm his apprentice.
Like, I'm a bad student, and you can't take him.
Yeah, like I was his student, and you can't take me. And so, like, I need that, kind of attitude, or tell me that this path, chasing down the possibility of Thrawn's return, changed you. Then I can reconcile that. I still don't like seeing you be stoic all the time, but I can at least reconcile that. But I'll throw it to you, Solar. How are you feeling about Ahsoka in general?
In general, I'm kind of looking at this whole thing, and I'm like, yeah, well, we'll see what's up. We will see what's up. Like I said, this is very much one of those benefit of the doubt things. Okay, I am giving her the benefit of the doubt in the sense of, I know she can do better than this. I know Rosario Dawson is a better actor than this, because it's very much killing me. I'm like, dude, you're killing me, Smalls. You're just killing me, because all of the stoicism is just killing. I'm like, stop deadpanning, because that's not the Ahsoka I remember, and I'm right there with you. I'll accept a lampshade of my mission on Withdrawn has turned me into a very hard person, and I'm kind of dead inside, and I'm sorry, my Padawan. I'd be fine with that. But I need some sort of explanation, and I think we're getting one, because now we got the band back together. You know, we got the band together. We got she's got her Batman's got her Robin, and hopefully that will wake up a little bit of the personality that was there. Because, like I said, her really brief scenes in The Mandalorian when she was dropping off Grogu and talking with Luke and giving Luke sass, I'm like, okay, when you get your show, that's what I want to see.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, what happened? Like seriously, what happened between The Mandalorian and now? To do this, you know?
See, it's tough because they don't always explicitly say like, okay, this is like 2 years after this, or this is. I've seen people say this is approximately 9 ABY. So, or
oh yeah, I'll just pretend I know that.
After,
know what that means.
Sorry, approximately 9 years or so after the Battle of Yavin.
Okay.
So, I guess maybe 5 after Endor, something like that. 5 or 6, something like it would be nice to have, you know, like Young Justice when they would put like the time down at the bottom.
Yeah.
It's like, cool. Okay, so I know sort of when this happens. Yeah, because it's like, how long has it been? But Ahsoka just, I really love the character. I went from basically saying, why do we have this character, this kid? We're gonna have to drag through the story. I don't want a kid. I want to see Anakin and Obi-Wan doing cool stuff. To, oh my God, she can't leave the Order. She's the best of us. And then seeing her go on to do greater things, even coming back, you know, even though she says she's not a Jedi, but I have a whole nother statement about that. But like her coming back and leading the rebellion.
Mm-hmm.
But my thing is, and I'm pretty sure Huyang or maybe Yoda would say something like similar to this. Like, no, the Jedi Order is not dead. As long as you live, the Jedi Order is alive. Like, I know you say you're not a Jedi, and maybe in your mind, in theory, you're not, but in practice, you're a Jedi. You are saving people. They look up to you. They are excited when you come around. You are their symbol of peace or protection. You are a Jedi. Like the Jedi Order is not dead. Now, I mean, especially now that since we know between the video games and between now we know Luke was just kicking it. You
right.
was kicking, so I'm like, yeah, the Jedi Order is not dead. Now, of course, we don't have like our big old citadel or whatever in Coruscant, but yeah, the Jedi are not dead. The Order isn't dead. Maybe fractured, maybe a little disorganized, maybe I'll need someone in administration to hook it up, but like the order is fine. There, you know, all you need is that little flame to keep it lit. But you know, the show hopefully will turn all this around. I don't know how many episodes we're supposed to get because I didn't look that up. But I'm assuming probably 8 to 10. And if we already knocked out 2, that means that we kind of got to put on the gas, which if you don't waste time with meaningless scenes, we'll be fine. Because each episode was about 40 or so minutes. The first episode, I think, was 56. The second episode was, I think, 45 or something like that. So as long as you have a well-intentioned path, you'll be fine. Because 8 episodes should be enough to, you know, kind of wrap up or get us to the point that you need us to be, because after this, and maybe Jay, you might know, there's the Acolyte after this, and then there's the movie, right?
Yeah, and then Skeleton Crew is in there somewhere, maybe. Like, we haven't really heard from Skeleton Crew at all recently, so I don't know where that's at.
Yeah, because I know this is supposed to be a movie that wraps up Ahsoka, Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, and Acolyte, I believe.
Oh, I thought the Acolyte was earlier in the timeline. I could be wrong about that.
Oh,
though.
maybe. Maybe. Yeah. You know what? Acolyte might not be part of that. Maybe it's just these 3 shows. Maybe
I think it's just these 3 shows, but I could be wrong. Yeah.
Ahsoka, Book of Boba Fett, and Mandalorian. There's a movie that's supposed to kind of like wrap all of their story, like dovetail them all and like wrap that up, which I think is cool. But since we're also playing around in the past, you have to be extremely careful because people people will ask questions. But I want to move forward over to the maybe not the dark side specifically, but over to the shadier side. Shouts to Ray.
We'll call it the charcoal side, if you will.
Yeah. I want to talk about our 2 or 3 antagonists. We have I guess in the Master Apprentice role, we have Baylan Skoll, and then we have Shin Hati. How are we feeling about our Sithy characters?
I love them.
Because
I think they're
hyped.
awesome. Yeah, exactly. I'm the same way because, I mean, he's basically treating Baylan as if Baylan is a Vader type of character. He even had the hallway scene, right, where it's a Vader-esque hallway scene. I thought that his apprentice was legit. Now, I don't know too much about the Witches of Dathomir. I've seen the Rebels episodes about them, and about how they're trying to possess the different characters and things like that. But I don't really know what's going on with this particular lady. And quite frankly, I thought she was used much better in the Mandalorian episode, where she had it was sort of this samurai aesthetic where Ahsoka was gonna have to fight her over the bridge with the water around him and stuff. I thought that was awesome. But she doesn't seem to be. She seems almost. I'm a little confused. I don't know where she went from the last episode we saw. I mean, obviously they gave us a little bit of background in the beginning of this episode, where they had to break her out, but none of that seems to. I don't know, overarchingly, why is this lady so important? And I don't feel like they've given me a reason. Maybe I need to go back and watch the Mandalorian episode that she was in to kind of contextualize myself to her. So she seems almost like a character who is. Star Wars has these characters. Laura Santeca was one of them in The Force Awakens, where it's there's a map and you need to get the map. It's that's the only thing that character does is tell you there's a map, and then unlock it for you so you can use it. So I'm hoping that she has something else that she starts to do. But if she doesn't, that's okay, because Baylan and his apprentice Shin are pretty phenomenal, and we haven't seen besides the Emperor and Vader, we haven't really gone super in depth into master and apprentice relationships on the Sith side. I mean, we've kind of seen them, but we haven't gone in depth, and they have the opportunity to do that now. So I hope they do.
Yeah, I dig it because they seem to be. They're definitely not Jedi, but they don't seem to specifically be Sith either.
Right.
But they have the master-apprentice relationship and even a respect for Jedi, because you see Shin Hati with the braid, with the Patron braid. Then when I think Morgan talks about killing Ahsoka or whatever, and you can see Baylan have some remorse as if well, yeah, I got to do what I got to do, but there's so few Jedi left. So it's this weird, almost I guess respect maybe, because the dark side, they'd be yeah, I can't wait to kill a Jedi, but he almost has this kind of warrior's respect for them, sort of. Which I like, and I think that leaves us some room to tell a story around them. As far as Morgan, I hope that we're not in this weird space of oh, we're just going to use this character and she'll be whatever we want, because we never got a hint of Night Sisters at all. Then all of a sudden she's supposed to be part of the Night Sisters, where I'm cool, fine, but if she's one of the Night Sisters, or maybe a descendant of, why would she be so interested in bringing someone from the Empire back? Because the Empire is the reason that the genocide was committed on the Night Sisters. The Emperor sent Count Dooku to kill them all. So and that happened in Clone Wars. So there's tons of Night Sister stuff in Clone Wars, and that it's what I don't get it. Or maybe it's just the issue between her and Thrawn. Like she's like, her and Thrawn are really cool. And maybe we'll learn about that, later. But for me, I'm wondering why she would want any remnant of the Empire to come back, unless she's thinking, hey, if I bring the Empire back, then since I'm cool with Thrawn, it'll be different, maybe. Because at least from a power standpoint, as weak as the New Republic has looked in Andor and here in this show now, I'd rather the Empire not come back. I'll just run everything and do it myself. I mean, look at how easy they took over that ship. I mean, you have that captain. Why would you open the door and let these people in? What are you I'll call their bluff. But anyway, don't get me started on that dummy. But Solar, how are you feeling about Ray Stevenson, of course, rest in peace, and Baylan Skoll and Shin Hati?
In all honesty, I am loving these antagonists. I'm really, really liking them. Number one, I don't know anything about the witches. I really don't. But what I do know, okay, the thing that I do know, what I'm feeling on them witches is, okay, finally, an external force other than the Force. That was always something that kind of.
That's why the Emperor had to get rid of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Man,
exactly.
Look, the Night Sisters were no joke.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's because of my love of Dune, and I have always been about the Bene Gesserit. So yeah, when it came down to them, I'm like, okay, all right, let me see what this lady can do, because she had me at the opening scene when super big chest tiny head man got to her cell, and she was just kicking it like, took y'all long enough. I'm like, okay, who is this? This is a very Hannibal Lecter, a very, very Hannibal Lecter type introduction, and I'm all there. I really am. I'm all there with the morning, what's up, how you doing, and I do like that. I like that very, very much. The other thing that I was noticing was I agree with what you're saying on Mr. He really looks like Ray Liotta, but I know he can't be. I dig him a lot. I really do. He has, these antagonists are very much giving an overall theme, and this is something that I noticed. Let me go back. We got Sabine coming in, right? And they made it a point to point out that she's the one with the artist's eye. Mm-hmm. And they're looking for Grand Admiral Thrawn, who does a psycho analysis of a civilization based on their art. And then you've got the other bad guy, the JRPG underboss, kind of going, there's an artistry to what they're doing. And I'm like, okay, I'm seeing the theme. It's very much one of those, I'm really, really looking forward to seeing the showdown. And when I mean the showdown, I mean, I'm looking forward to him and Ahsoka having their showdown. And I hope they don't, I hope she doesn't kill him. Really like him. Now, as far as Miss Smokey Eye, the jury is out. I get a very Damian Wayne sense from her.
Uh-oh.
A very, I'm just here for the killing, but I'll ask questions so that you can explain to the audience, I mean me, why I'm here. You feel me?
Explain to the audience, I mean me.
Yeah, I mean, am I alone in that or what? Am I?
Nah, she definitely, it seems like, there is a part that seemed like she took it kind of easy on Sabine, or maybe she was just like, you're not in my league.
Oh, that was very much plot armor going, because that fight was funny.
It was almost either she took pity on her. Maybe it was she took, like, girl, please, why'd you even ignite this lightsaber? Just stay in the house.
Yeah, exactly. That was the thing I was getting. You know,
because I'm seeing the fight go, and I'm thinking, yeah, she could have taken you anytime. I mean, she
yeah,
was sitting there waiting for her. I think Shin Hati, I kind of agree with you. Maybe she was like, look, this is kind of boring. Let me at least fight a little bit. You know,
well, you know, that whole
droids. She did beat one of them down.
Mm.
So, you know, maybe I can get a little fight in, a little cardio before I go back.
Which ain't gonna lie, did not like that. What I will say is I do love those droids.
Oh, the
Yes.
HK droids are awesome.
Yeah, those things were amazing in the sense of what was I? Sorry, dropped a thing. Yeah, I loved those droids where it was like, all right, look, we're fighting Ahsoka. Oh no, she killed us. Self-destruct. And when they said self-destruct, man, did they mean it.
Yeah. I'm thinking of like a sizable explosion, you know, but that was, I don't know,
Special.
I don't know, like a whole downtown area of a city or something. Like everything was burned down.
Yeah.
So she got out of there, you know, in the nick of time at least.
You don't really need a Death Star if you've got enough of those droids. You're just like, just self-destruct the droids. We're good.
Like, that's all we need. No big deal. Just have them sneak in at night and just self-destruct.
Seriously, man. Although again, this is me coming back to slapping the director. Why is Sabine doing martial arts on something without nerve endings?
Okay, all right. You know what? I was trying to hold that back, but let's go on and talk about it. All right, Hollywood, I understand that you want to cast these small women in these roles. I get it. But if you do that, you can't have them doing these like super powerful, overpowering moves with a robot made out of metal that have no nerve endings and have like, I don't know, sort of superhuman strength. And then if you do that and she overpowers one, as we see her do, then how did the other one get to overpower her? They're the same model. What, did this one have a little more oil today or something? Like, you can't. All I'm saying is it's annoying, especially when we've seen Wonder Woman and we've seen Black Panther. We have seen women on the Dora Milaje and women in Themyscira. These women are larger women. Cast them. If you want to show a woman doing overpowering moves, just cast a larger woman. You have proven to us that you know where they are because you casted them. So
yeah, but the last time they did, it didn't go all that well. So shout outs to Mando season 1.
Yeah. So my thing is this: if you have a smaller woman, great, but have that smaller woman do what a smaller woman would do: guns and blades, because that helps level the playing field of a stronger opponent. Just have her keep the gun. Now, I know you're like, no, we want to drop the gun or move the gun or not have the gun so we can have the cool fight scene. Trust me, she can be just as cool with the gun. Indiana Jones was super cool when that dude was doing all that sword stuff and he just shot him. That was cool. Now, of course, you have to tailor your fight scenes slightly differently, but it doesn't make sense for Sabine, who looks like she might be 120 soaking wet, and she's like manhandling assassin droids.
You know what?
But then one, apparently she can't manhandle that one. It's either she manhandles them all or manhandles none of them. It's like, you got to make up your mind.
See, what I was
saying,
setting
give
up,
her a gun, and she always blows up stuff. Have her have cool little explosives, and she can use that for the edge.
See, that's where I was thinking. Okay, because Sabine has always been the tech Mandalorian. You know,
Yeah,
that was always her bag. You know, so I'm like, all right, you know what? Give her the tech. She knows how tech works. Let's do some tech. And when those droids came out, I'm like, she shouldn't be punching in the freaking she really shouldn't be punching in the punching in the chest and punching in the face. What is that? She should be going for joints. Take out the knees, make it so that it can't stand up. You know, again, all back on the director. This is me just going, look, director, y'all need, this is me doing the thing. Cause I am more than a little annoyed at that.
All right. I'll say this, directors, I know y'all want to show these women doing cool stuff. I'm going to give you some homework. There's a lady named Sarah Connor and there's a lady named Ripley. You see, they had guns in their hands because they had to get the upper hand on stronger people and or things. So put a gun in their hand. Now I know what you're gonna say. Hey man, it's PG-13. We can't have blood. Use blasters. This is Star Wars. Ain't no blood, and it's a robot anyway. But it just those women were cool because they did cool things, and you didn't see them try to manhandle the queen alien. No. She got in a mech suit so she could, like, look, it's not that hard, guys. It's not. Don't do karate on a robot. All right? It's not going to matter. And if you punch straight metal, ain't it going to hurt a little bit? I guess not. Maybe her adrenaline was pumping. All I'm saying is she has a blaster. Have her use it. Just have her use it. She could have came out blasting. It would have been great. But then I guess if she used the blaster, then the map doesn't get stolen. I don't know. I don't know.
They also could have they could have made a moment about that too. Like, right? Like, so I'm just thinking about from a storytelling standpoint, these droids show up and she pauses. When it's Ahsoka. Let's just talk about when it's Ahsoka. Ahsoka pauses in the ruins and is like, okay, 4 droids. And then she takes 2 of them and sinks them into the ground by cutting holes underneath them, and then takes out the other 2. But what's interesting about that moment is that I think in retrospect, after they blow up, we're supposed to go, ooh, she's got to face 4 of these droids. Is she going to make it out? But the problem is you put the stoicism of Ahsoka in. You put what we know about droids being fairly easy for Jedi to take out. There's a history of Jedi taking out droids that's pretty easy, maybe with the sole exception of General Grievous. And it's like there's a moment where you can pause and maybe they like knock a couple of her lightsabers out of her hands. Maybe when she does try to punch them, she hurts herself, whatever. And then we go, oh, these are some badass droids. That would be more interesting, but unfortunately, it feels a little cartoonish. I mean, look, while I appreciate that Filoni is the most George Lucas-like of all the other people that play in the Star Wars sandbox, there are some things that he does that I feel like don't really equate to the kind of storytelling gravitas that I would like to see from somebody. And so for example, in my opinion, that this could have been these robots are actually awesome, or these droids are actually awesome and could be even cooler if we took a little bit of time to showcase how badass they are in the context of this universe. But it doesn't feel like we got enough time with them to say that, like, yes, they are badass. They could just be kind of fairly simple droids to overcome that when they explode, it's a bad thing. So it just feels like they could dig deeper into. Basically, what all 3 of us are saying about all of this is let us live in the world a little longer. Let us sit with things a little more. Explain. We're all 3 of us are gonna watch. You know, if they made it a 20 episode season, all 3 of us would probably watch. It's so long as it's good, right? So like, you can do more. Is all I'm saying.
Or now that I think about it, and I'll jump off this point because I know we got to move on. But okay, Grievous, we know has killed the most Jedi, right?
Right.
Why hasn't someone said, well, hey, even though General Grievous is dead, we can make robots like General Grievous that has the same stance, the same height, and the same. So like maybe a modified K2/HK/IG droid with 4 arms. Like, why wouldn't you do? I'd do that. I'd be like, hey, I hate Jedis, right? And Grievous was the most Jedi killer. Now, of course, we don't have the mind of Grievous, but we can take his height, his the 4 arms thing, and put that into another robot that already has the killer instinct, like an IG robot or something like that, and then modify it a little bit, and then make our own Jedi killers. I mean, you could call them Jedi killers. Now, I mean, of course, maybe that might not pass the snuff of a PG-13, but when you're selling them on the market for the First Order or the Empire, you'd be like, hey man, look, I got this new. You go to the presentation. You're like, hey, I got these new droids. They just brand new out. All right, I got 5 models already. These are the Jedi killers. The JK Model 1. All right, you can have these. All right. $200,000 per unit, and that's nothing for y'all. Y'all the Empire. Y'all got the money for that. Like, it just seems like I would, if I was a bad guy, I'd make those.
Or
and
let's say you're an older.
Then when we see those on the field, we're like, oh, hold up, this Jedi's in real trouble.
Yeah, exactly.
You could also take that idea and take an older Sith dark side user who maybe isn't as spry as he or she used to be, and they're mind controlling all of those robots. Like now you have you have even better than General Grievous mindset, but you have all of his capabilities, and it's like that would be pretty legit. I'd be up for that,
because then you have a droid that's a real threat.
Exactly.
Like, something that a Jedi has to actually exert some real force to, like, deal with these guys. And then fighting robots wouldn't seem so throwaway.
Right.
But then I guess you would get sort of into maybe Terminator territory, and there'd be a lot of fans that wouldn't like that. I don't know. I understand. It's a delicate situation. But I'll throw it over, because I guess the last thing I want to touch on before we get out is what I guess I'll ask Jay, what are you looking to see from this series that maybe we haven't seen from another series yet? Like, is there anything that you're like, I really hope they do this, I really hope they explain that? What are you looking for, or are you just like, I'm gonna take it as it comes?
So I was gonna just be, I'm gonna take it as it comes until you ask the question, because now when you ask that question, the one thing I think that Star Wars has, the sequel trilogy and somewhat Ahsoka's character in general, started to ask the question, and even the prequel trilogy to a certain extent, what is wrong with the Jedi Order? What did they do poorly? Why are they bad? Now, that was a question that was not previously asked, because in the original trilogy, it was always, I mean, the crawls will tell you, the crawl will just straight up say, the evil Empire and the good guys who are the Jedi, right? Like, they don't waste any time. So as we've made Jedi more complex, I've always thought that the idea of a quote-unquote gray Jedi, which people say, oh, that doesn't exist, whatever. I'm just using that as a nomenclature for saying somebody who isn't light side and isn't dark side, but plays in both realms. That idea is very compelling, but we've never actually fully explored why it's compelling or why someone would want to do that. We know that Ahsoka did it, but she's doing it primarily because she's like, well, those Jedi are wrong. But then later on, we learn, the Force Ghost of Yoda is like, well, maybe you just need to relax, Luke. Like, maybe it's not so much about whether or not you failed or whatever. Maybe it's just you need to not worry so much. And so, yeah, I would like to, with this series, what I would love to see. One of my favorite things about the Kenobi series, and I didn't love the Kenobi series, but one of my favorite things about it was the flashback sequence to when Anakin and Kenobi were training together. And I would love to see more of those flashbacks, but with what was going on with Ahsoka during all of these times when she's been absent. And if we can use those flashbacks to learn more about her perspective on what the Force is and how she's operating with the Force, that will be a very compelling show. So that's what I would like. If we're gonna get that, that would be amazing.
Okay, you know what? I'd like to see, someone, and not even in the Jedi sense, someone who has the Force, because of course, during this time, we should have a couple of people, because people didn't stop being born with Force sensitivity. It's
Right.
just that nobody was a Jedi because everyone was scared to reveal their powers because they were being killed off and hunted down by Inquisitors. And we have, it looks like we have one Inquisitor left, and Merrick in this show. But why can't we see someone who's not a Jedi? They kind of just use the Force to get by. They're not really, they're kind of like, sort of like a Han Solo type, where it's like, they're not evil. Maybe just when, say they go to get a loan and it seems like it's not going their way, and they just kind of like push a little bit to go in and get that, going and get that 2% interest instead of the 6% they're supposed to get, or 7.5% that's going on now. Like just little things like that. Like they're not evil. They're just like, hey, I can do this thing. It works out for me every now and then. Like they're not trying to take over the world. They're just like, hey, and maybe have someone come upon them and be like, hey, like, you have the Force. And they'll be like, oh, that's what this is? Like, I know I can do it, and I know I can do a couple things here and there, but I didn't know what this was, because of course Jedis aren't a thing. Even in the show, when someone said it was a Jedi clearance code, like everybody turned around like, Jedi. So yeah, I would like to see, maybe in some show every now and then, just regular people that like, yeah, I use this every now and then, I don't, or maybe I know I can do this, maybe I, fight against, maybe, gangsters or whatever in the area, but I don't want to be a Jedi. I'm not interested in doing all of that. I just want to take care of my neighborhood. I guess maybe like the Spider-Man of Jedi, but anyway, you know what I mean. But that I would like to see every now and then some normal stuff, or some the everyday person with those skills. Because I think that could play out interestingly as well. But I'll throw it to Solar. Are you expecting anything from this show, or you just kind of along for the ride?
I'm very much along for the ride. I don't have enough background on Rebels to actually expect anything. Now what I will say is I am truly, and even more truly waiting and hoping that we'll see Grand Admiral Thrawn in something other than the season finale.
Oh boy.
Because I'm kind of about that action. I'm kind of about the thrawning of the Thrawns.
Yeah. Don't tease us, and then he doesn't show up until like the finale, and it's like, wait for the movie, guys. Like,
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Especially if the lead up to it is going to be boring. Like, let's ratchet it up a little bit. I want our heroes in real danger.
Right.
Like, we've seen Sabine pay the price already for not listening to what Ahsoka said. So now we have this idea that, okay, there are some stakes. We know Sabine. I doubt Sabine is going to die, but Sabine got severely hurt. Like, yeah. So this isn't, now it's like, okay, so we at least have the kind of groundwork laid that mistakes can be costly. Like, she was bedridden for, I don't know, it's TV time. I don't know, a couple days. TV time is weird. It could be a week. It'd be 2 days. It depends. But, give us some stakes. Make me think that maybe, even though they will live, I assume, because there's a movie coming after this, maybe they'll survive, but they'll lose an arm, or maybe they'll spend the third movie with an eye patch. You know what I'm saying? Who knows? Something like that.
That would be kind of fire. I'm not gonna lie.
Just give me a few stakes. But I guess on my side, what I'm expecting is Thrawn early on, and I want to see Thrawn being the tactician that he is, because I need to see why we're going through all this to get him.
Yeah.
So he needs to come back and immediately be almost to the point where, oh, that Moff Gideon, oh man, he was doing it all wrong. You got to do this, 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 and this, and then seeing those things come into play and pretty much knocking big blows to the New Republic. Like I want to see that happen almost immediately because we want to see why we wanted to keep him away so badly. So yeah, I think that's pretty much the biggest thing I want to see. And then of course, can Ahsoka get some energy, some life back to her? You know, just let me get some liveliness from her. I think that might be it. So some liveliness. Just a little, maybe a wink here or two, or a smile. I don't know, something, a quip, just something, instead of just being like, I'm going to look seriously at everything. I'm going to look with much intent.
Yeah,
and that's it. And I'm going to take long pauses before I reply to anyone.
Yeah.
It's like, have we padded that runtime yet? Oh, okay, hold on. I'll wait a little bit longer. But no, guys, I promise. Anyone listening, I promise you, I dig the general premise of the show. I'm sticking around. We're gonna see what goes on. We got more coming this week. We'll be a little earlier on the show next time, but we got more coming on. So I will throw it over to Solar first. Final thoughts, and where can people find you?
One of my major final thoughts on this one is it's too early to tell. This first 2 episodes very much felt like an extended pilot. And how can I put this? I'm not invested in the story as it is. I mean, I'm interested to see where this is going to go, and hopefully Sabine and Ahsoka can work some stuff out. But really, I want to see if Rosario Dawson gets to blossom in this and really gets to show what she can do versus constant stoicism. Because we didn't talk about the fight choreography that much. But the very first thing I saw her do with the lightsabers is what I was all in for. When she put them in the ground, used the force to cut the little circle, I'm like, all right, I want to see more of this.
That was a cool way to bring that, because she did that once in Clone Wars too.
Yeah, so I want to see more of that. And once that kind of thing comes in, I'm like, all right, this is the place and the thing that I want to see. So let's hope against hope that we get a little bit more of that. That's what I really want.
Okay.
So if I can get some good action scenes, I'm all for it. But really, I want to see more character stuff. I'm actually invested in the antagonists, so I really want to see more of them and see them do some more cool stuff. Even Padawan Smokey Eye, that would be some really cool stuff for me. And yeah, so when that happens, I mean, I'm in for it. I'm all in on this show, so I want to see what's going on. But yeah, so we'll see. But right now, let's just say it's more obligatory than interest, but not by a huge margin. You feel me? And if y'all want to know a little bit more about what I think about things like this, well, it's simple. You can get a hold of me over at twitch.tv/BID_P. And you can also get a hold of me over on YouTube at BidPBlurred. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, we are live. And of course, like and subscribe to my channel. Like and subscribe to NERDSoul. Like and subscribe to Jay. Be part of the HBO crew. That would be really useful. And yeah, that's literally where you can find me. And yeah, let's see how all this stuff goes.
All right, Jay, final thoughts?
I'm pretty close to Solar because I feel like Star Wars. My interest in Star Wars has been waning for several years now. I still like Star Wars. I still consider myself a Star Wars fan. I'm not on the hate bandwagon at all. But besides like standout shows like Mandalorian season 1 and Andor, for the most part, I am kind of like, well, let's see if it's any good, and if it's not, like, I'll watch it for a little while and see what happens. With this, I feel kind of the same way. I am interested in it. I also agree with Solar that the most interesting thing about this show is the antagonists. They seem amazing. Because I never fell in love with the Rebels characters like some people have, I don't get any particular thrill out of seeing them on the screen. So Star Wars is not gonna be able to hold my interest just by, are we gonna get to see Ezra? Like, I don't really care. If I'm being honest, like, I don't really care. So yeah, I mean, I would say the best word to describe how I'm feeling is those were good shows. I'm hoping we can get some greatness out of these shows. But if it goes the way of Kenobi, where it's like, no, it's just going to stay good to why did we make this show, then I don't know. I don't feel like I will be super thrilled by the time the show's over, which then makes me think that the Filoni-verse is maybe not my jam, but we'll see. I'm not being negative about it. I'm actually positive about it, and I think it's going to go to some pretty cool places, but we'll see. And if you want to follow me, check out How Stories Work with Jay Sherer on YouTube. I'm also a part of the Orange Grove 55 channel, commenting on different things. The Story Geeks podcast is over there now, and we are actively working on a short film. I just shot a table read with some local actors that I am going to release on the How Stories Work with Jay Sherer channel. So if you want to check that out, our short film has gotten some really good feedback in contests, and we literally will be filming it probably in November, and then that's going to come out and go around all the circuits. So I'll try to put that on YouTube so everybody can check it out as well, so we can raise money to shoot a feature. So that's what we got going on over there. So check it out. And then, of course, I'm on Twitter, just at Jay Sherer. You can follow me over there too.
Cool. For me, final thoughts. You guys have to figure out Ahsoka. It's the name of the show. And I don't think her being stoic is enough for me to continue liking this character. I know Filoni loves this character because he created the character, but now I'm wondering if he's doing so much with her that he's going to kind of tarnish her reputation. Because the actress is dope, the look is dope, the direction it needs to come through for me. I'm going to watch the show. I'm going to watch the show because we've been waiting for a while. So I'm going to watch the show, and to the point of the action, we got to pick that up. And I'd like to see more, I guess you could say, interesting ways to use the Force. I'd like to see something. Maybe Ahsoka does something that we haven't seen the Force do before, or maybe like use it in a unique way. I'd like to see that. But as I said before, Thrawn has to be scary. Thrawn plus Morgan plus the sort of Sith have to be very scary. Like those two Sith took down a whole ship on their own, or semi-Sith took down a whole ship on their own. All four of these people together, like he said, power like you've never dreamed. That's what I want to see. I want to see, or at least maybe the last couple episodes that lead us into the movie, I guess, maybe finally see that power that they're talking about manifest, and they're a true, force to reckon with. But then it also makes you wonder, all right, so when does the First Order come into play? When does, but don't ask that far, because I don't think they figured that out either. Which is a whole Star Wars problem, but just don't worry about that. With that, with that said, NERDSoul, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, podcast, all that jazz. Until the next time that Hera and Chop have to chase down someone without guns on the ship, until the next time that a whole bunch of quote office workers scream for the Empire and try to kill someone, or until a dumb captain decides to let on some unknown people to your ship when you know you're transferring very, very precious cargo. This is from us to you saying peace.